Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our live coverage of another Starlink Group 10-2 mission from Space Coast, that is Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Space Launch Complex 40 from Florida on its fourth attempt as of now. SpaceX first Starlink mission from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in more than 2 weeks. Hope you all are doing fine and excited about the upcoming launch. We are waiting for a Falcon 9 liftoff at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time from Slick 40, Eastern Florida for a northeasterly launch for SpaceX Starlink mission. The Starlink mission 10-2 will launch 22 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. Today's Starlink mission is special as it is yet another, to be precise, the second Starlink mission from Cape to launch on a northeast trajectory in 1.5 years. Today's Starlink mission marks SpaceX's amazing 358th overall launch. Hello, my name is Dipta Maitra, performing the commentary for today's mission launch, and we are super excited bringing you the coverage of SpaceX 65th overall launch and 63rd launch of Falcon 9 of this year. This will be the 45th dedicated Starlink mission of the year for SpaceX. Prior to today's launch, SpaceX has launched 983 Starlink satellites so far over 44 flights this year, and overall 6,633 Starlink satellites to date. Now, before getting into the mission details, just a quick update. Teams from NASA and Boeing Space are targeting now not earlier than July for the return of Starliner crew from International Space Station. Dates are yet to be confirmed, but future return opportunities are following the station's two planned spacewalks, that is on June 24th and July 2nd respectively. And the much anticipated US ISS Spacewalk 90 will be now performed by NASA astronaut Tracy Dyson and Mike Barrett on June 24th, where Mike Barrett is replacing Matthew Dominic in his current role. We will be streaming the event, so don't forget to tune in. Just a note, it's me only managing the launch coverages on my own, so if we face technical issues, please bear with me. I will do my best to guide you through the Falcon 9 rocket launch happening in some minutes. Now let's get back to today's mission. So far, SpaceX reports that the weather is looking not so much good for today's Falcon 9 opportunity, although the range is ready to support. Having 50 to 80% variable probability of violation and 50 to 20% favorable outlook, with the major primary concern being cumulus crowd rule, surface electric fields rule, and anvil crowd rules. For now, the forecast suggests scattered to numerous showers and thunderstorms chances in the vicinity. This serves as a strong indication that we are indeed experiencing the mid and end June in Central Florida. Although if the weather cooperates in the launch window and if SpaceX proceed with the launch, we hope that they are able to launch on time and not have to push off too far, as favorable launch weather deteriorates to just 20% by the end of the launch window. But if we don't have a launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow, that is Monday, June 24th, with launch window opening at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. SpaceX is currently targeting a liftoff of the Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time, which will be 10:15 a.m. Pacific Time and 5:15 p.m. UTC on Sunday, that is on June 23rd. Previously, Starlink 10-2 mission encountered a rare scrub at T0 as the Falcon 9's first stage Merlin engines had ignition. So we hope that today everything will go as planned and we will be having this spectacular and much awaited launch. Now, before moving on, firstly we express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone for being a part of today's launch and would request that if you haven't done so yet, we encourage you to like this video, as your likes assist YouTube's algorithm in attracting more space fans and rocket chasers to discover the stream. It would be great to have more rocket lovers like you joining us and enjoying the stream together. Furthermore, we would greatly appreciate it if you consider subscribing to our channel, as we provide detailed coverage of space launches complete with extensive statistics and thorough insights. Now let's take a look at today's payload details for Starlink Group 10-2 mission. And before moving on and discussing the payload details, would like to welcome Confession at 3 a.m., one of our moderator here, and would like to say that Confession at 3 a.m. is the first subscriber of this channel. Also would like to welcome and thanks to Dan for subscribing to our channel. Welcome Dan, and hopefully you will enjoy the stream, and also we hope that we will be able to meet your expectations. Thanks again for subscribing us. So let's move on and let's discuss about the payload details for today's mission, that is Starlink 10-2 mission. This launch marks the 45th dedicated Starlink launch for this year. A quick fun fact: at the very beginning, the two identical Starlink test satellites called Microsat 2A and Microsat 2B were launched on 22nd February 2018. Upon orbital deployment, they were renamed to Tintin A and Tintin B. So Tintin A and Tintin B are the first Starlink satellites to be launched. Starlink satellites are built at SpaceX Satellite Development Facility in Redmond, Washington. Today's launch consists of 22 version 2 mini satellites. The version 2 variant of Starlink is too large to fit inside a Falcon 9 fairing and is meant to be launched by Starship. To mitigate this issue, SpaceX modified the original version 2 blueprint into a smaller, more compact one and named it version 2 mini. SpaceX also indicated they would build satellites of the second generation constellation in two different but technically identical form factors, one with the physical structures tailored to launch on Falcon 9, that is version 2 mini, and another tailored for the launch on Starships, that is version 2. Each Starlink satellite is equipped with powerful 5 advanced Ku phased array antennas and 3 dual band parabolic antennas utilizing Ka and E bands to provide increased capacity. Together, these antennas utilizes Ku, Ka, and E band frequencies, allowing Starlink to provide high bandwidth connectivity that is 4 times more capacity per satellite than earlier versions. Each satellite features a dual solar array with a size of 52.5 square meters, which unfurls to a wingspan of 100 feet. Also, it has a high capacity battery to provide power to the payloads. The two solar arrays are also aeroneutral, which enables faster on-orbit maneuvers. Each Starlink satellite contains 3 space laser transponders, that is optical inter-satellite links or ISLs, for intercommunications operating at up to 200 Gbps, which together across the constellation form a global internet mesh that can connect customers anywhere in the world. This also enables the spacecraft to transmit data without local ground stations, providing truly global coverage. Each Starlink version 2 mini satellite weighs nearly 800 kilograms, that is 1763 pounds. Before moving on, let's have a look at the chat and would like to welcome Bob Tripika. Welcome back, Bob Tripika. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully you got our comment about regarding the version 2 satellite pictures which we couldn't find. We searched thoroughly but we are not able to find it. And yes, it is the same mission that reported at T0 even after the engine ignition. It is the 10-2 mission, which got previously 3 times delayed, and today is the 4th time and the 4th attempt from SpaceX. Also would like to welcome Ed Osdale. Hopefully, Ed, that today they will be launching. Even I am hopeful, as because today's weather, as we previously saw, SpaceX did took risk even with 50% probability of violation, which we are having at the initial period of the launch window. But if again they will be delaying the launch, it will be getting a troublesome situation, as because the probability of violation of the launch will be 80% towards the end of the launch window. So let's see and hope for the best. So moving on, let's discuss more about the payload. Starlink satellites are equipped with efficient ion Hall effect thrusters powered by argon, which enable Starlink satellites to orbit raise, maneuver in space, and deorbit at the end of their useful life. Starlink is the first Krypton-propelled spacecraft ever flown. Later switched to argon Hall effect thrusters for cost effectiveness. Also, upon switching to argon, Starlink is again the first argon-propelled spacecraft ever flown in space. Now, a obvious question arises that how much it affects the cost. So, relative to Krypton, the argon required to fuel Starlink version 2 satellites will be practically free. Now, to put it into perspective, fueling its next constellation of almost 30,000 version 2 satellites could cost SpaceX less than fueling 4,000 version 1 satellites, which were based on Krypton. So it's a huge difference in between. Also, SpaceX claims that its second generation thrusters using argon has 2.4 times the thrust and 1.5 times the specific impulse of the previously Krypton propelled thruster. Today's payload will be placed in an orbit with an altitude of 278 kilometers and with an inclination of 53.16 degrees. This orbital placement configuration does not apply to every Starlink satellite. Starlink satellites are placed in different configurations based on their group. Starlink uses custom-built navigation sensors named Star Tracker that surveys the stars to determine each satellite's location, altitude, and orientation for best possible broadband throughput. Each Starlink satellite contains 4 reaction wheels providing agile attitude control for the vehicle. The hot sphere configuration ensures high reliability operation and its aluminum flywheel is fully demisable at the end of life. Also worth mentioning, the Starlink satellites are equipped with an autonomous collision avoidance system for avoiding collisions with other spacecraft and space junks autonomously, which utilizes the US Department of Defense debris tracking database. Now, with the recent inclusion of Sierra Leone, let's take a look at the countries where Starlink's low latency, high speed internet is now available. And as of the current status, Starlink is delivering its high speed, low latency internet services to 100 countries and territories. Let's go through a quick comparison of latency between Starlink and geostationary satellites. Recently, we had an update that Starlink set a new record for internal median latency of 28 milliseconds. They are now aiming to reduce the median latency of Starlink internet in the US to under 20 milliseconds. You know, the internet that comes from satellites, most of the time it's from a single satellite that's orbiting about 35,786 kilometers from Earth. As because it is so far away, the time it takes for the data to go back and forth, what we call latency, is pretty high. This makes it tough to do things like streaming movies, playing online games, making video calls, or real-time data exchange. Now let's talk about Starlink. It's like a big team of thousands of satellites that are much closer to us, just about 550 kilometers from Earth. They are all over the place, covering the whole globe. And because they are closer, the latency is way lower. And to put it into perspective, just think of 25 milliseconds of latency compared to 600 and plus milliseconds of latency. Although such difference of latency is not such observable in day-to-day life of work, but where the real-time data exchange and like playing online games and video calls are there, and someone doesn't want any lag in between them, there this latency plays a great role. You can see on your screen what is the number of round trips in case of Starlink compared to a geostationary satellite, which is a huge difference. So in simple terms, Starlink's lower orbit makes it a game changer for satellite internet. This could mean smoother video calls, lag-free online gaming, and other activities that requires a lot of data and where the real-time data exchange is a priority. Moving on, let's learn a little bit about Starlink's collision avoidance system. It is quite fascinating to know how, despite having so many satellites around the Earth, they manage to stay safe and avoid collisions. So for that, let's have a look about their collision onboard collision avoidance system and how it works. SpaceX designs the Starlink satellites orbit raising and orbit lowering reference trajectories with a time optimal path planning algorithm. The algorithm includes additional constraints to ensure that the Starlink satellites always remain at a large and safe distance from the space station, other spacecraft, space junks, and from other Starlink satellites under nominal circumstances. As an additional safety measure, Starlink screening system constantly monitors the satellite's planned reference trajectories against the space stations, other spacecrafts, and other Starlink satellites. The system alerts the Starlink operators immediately when a potential conjunction is detected, and reference trajectories are replanned to change the geometry of the encounter and to avoid the conjunction whenever possible. Each Starlink's launch typically includes enough satellites to fill several orbital planes. For this reason, a train of satellites is usually divided into smaller trains that depart from parking orbit on different dates to target specific orbital planes, which is also a part of pre-planned conjunction avoidance. The techniques for avoiding conjunctions at the planning stages are an additional precaution in addition to Starlink's onboard collision avoidance system. In this context, conjunction avoidance during planning refers to designing trajectories that maintain satellites far away from space stations under nominal circumstances. Deconflicting trajectories at the planning stage requires predicting potential conjunctions several weeks into the future, which naturally limits the accuracy of the results. As part of SpaceX multi-tiered approach to space safety, Starlink's automatic collision system allows satellites to plan maneuvers to minimize the collision probability during close approaches that could not be avoided when planning. Now we have a request again for you guys. If you haven't already, consider giving this video a like, as it really helps YouTube's algorithm to bring in more space fans and rocket enthusiasts. And if you are feeling we are adding value to your viewing experience, please consider subscribing. We would be super grateful for your support. Now let's take a look at the flight record for the booster supporting today's Starlink 10-2 mission. The booster with tail number 1078 will be supporting today's mission. However, the booster 1078 was not the intended booster for this mission. The original flight plan had booster with tail number 1073 as a first stage booster, and the booster was swapped out following a last second scrub on June 14th. Today's booster with tail number 1078 has 10 previous flights in its record, including missions like SpaceX Crew 6, Empower B for SES, a major telecommunication operator based in Luxembourg, a classified launch of USSF 124 for United Space Force, and 7 Starlink missions, now awaiting its 11th flight. Recently, we witnessed the launch of Astra-1P satellite for ACS from Cape on its third attempt due to ongoing unfavorable weather conditions at eastern Florida. The last mission supported by today's booster was Starlink Group 6-60 on May 28th this year. Previously, with Starlink Group 6-59 launch on May 17 from Cape Canaveral, SpaceX achieved a record. For the first time, a Falcon booster with tail number 1062 launched for record-breaking 21st time. But just with the recent Starlink Group 8-8 mission, the supporting booster 1061 also had 21 flights as a milestone. Currently, boosters with tail number 1062 and 1061 are having 21 flights so far, and other boosters with tail number 1060 and 1067 have 20 launches so far as their milestones, which are awaiting to hit their record-breaking milestones soon. Now let's have a look at the bar graph depicting Falcon 9 launches each year. Before moving on, just to reply Pop Tripika, even I'm unsure about that whether ISS is having Starlink or not, but probably they are not having, or maybe they can have just to have a like a test satellite kind of. But even they are not having previously, as they didn't had Starlink when the Starlink concept was not there. They had a very high speed downlink and uplink internet connectivity. So I'm unsure that whether they are having the Starlink, but that's a nice question and I will be looking for the answer of it. Really, that is an intriguing question. And as soon as I will get any answer or any hints, I will let you know. So let's take a look at these bar graphs on your screen. Before today's launch, SpaceX completed 62 launches of Falcon 9 so far this year as part of its milestone. With a recent non-Starlink mission launch from here at Cape from Space Launch Complex 40, that is Astra 1P mission, also referred as SES-24 mission, back on June 20th. SpaceX hit a big milestone this year's 50th launch with the previous Starlink 8-7 mission. That's just two more than half of last year's Falcon 9 launches, which totaled 48. Now, with the last Starlink mission launch, they have 14 more launches than half of total launches made last year. This year's count already surpasses the total number of Falcon 9 launches from all the years leading up to the year 2022. And they are now setting target to launches made in 2023. With the previous Starlink 9-1 mission launch from Vandenberg, they equaled the number of launches from the year 2022. Now, with today's launch of Starlink Group 10-2 mission, the bar graph depicts 63 Falcon 9 launches so far this year, which is 2 more than the launches made in 2022. They have already done more than half as many launches as they did all of last year, and it's been 5 months and 23 days only. If they continue with this pace, they are on their mighty way to hit the ambitious goal of 140 to 148 launches by the end of this year. SpaceX is really pushing hard to achieve their big goals. We just witnessed 4th integrated flight test of Starship on June 6th. Now awaiting the 5th one tentatively towards the early July. Now please allow us a couple of seconds to check whether the launch is on time or not and to stay updated. Be tuned in here only. We will be right back in just few seconds. So don't run away. So far it looks SpaceX is sticking to their liftoff time targeted for 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time, which will be 10:15 a.m. Pacific Time, corresponding to 5:15 p.m. UTC on Saturday, on Sunday, that is on June 23rd. Let's go ahead as we progress through the countdown and review the milestones that lie ahead for us on this Cape Canaveral flight. At T minus 38 minutes, countdown begins at this point when SpaceX launch director gives the go for the start of propellant load. If everything looks fine, prop load begins at T minus 30 minutes mark with the loading of rocket grade kerosene or RP1 on board the first and second stages of Falcon 9 rocket. At the same time, LOX load, that is super chilled liquid oxygen, is loaded on board the first stage. And then at T minus 16 minutes, which will be the next event that we are looking for here, that's when the second stage liquid oxygen load begins. And at T minus 7 minutes, that's when the chill down of 9 Merlin engines gets underway, which involves flowing a small amount of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and turbopumps that helps protect the engines from the risk of thermal shock and damages during the startup sequence. At about 6 minutes before liftoff, the first stage kerosene tank should be full. In a T minus 4.5 minutes, the strong back retract sequence begins. The process begins with the clamp pumps underneath the payload fairing opening up, followed by the transporter erector or strong back reclining about 1.5 degrees away from the Falcon 9. It remains in that position until liftoff. It's when it rapidly pulls back to clear the way for the Falcon 9 rocket's vertical ascent. The strong back positioned alongside the vehicle, also referred as the transporter erector, fulfills multiple functions. It supplies propellants, provides air conditioning, pressurization gases, and electrical power. Additionally, it transports the Falcon 9 to the launch pad and positions it for the launch. Here is an image on your screen showing how a strong back or the transporter erector transports rockets. Although on your screen you are watching Falcon Heavy being transported. Now at T minus 3 minute mark, the Falcon 9 first stage liquid oxygen loading should be complete, followed by second stage liquid oxygen loading wrapping up at T minus 2 minutes mark. At that point, Falcon 9 rocket is fully fueled with 1 million pounds of propellant. At T minus 1 minute mark, the propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure. In the final 60 seconds countdown, the control of the flight system, that is launch sequence, is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers. If everything looks good, at T minus 45 seconds mark, the SpaceX launch director will give the final go for Falcon 9 liftoff. Now at T minus 3 seconds, the engine ignition sequence start command being issued by onboard engine controller. Finally, at T0, we will have liftoff. If all 9 Merlin 1D engines ignite and are healthy, flight computers will give the command for the hold down clamps to release the Falcon 9. Currently targeting a liftoff time of Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time. which will be 10:15 a.m. Pacific time and 5:15 p.m. UTC on Sunday, that is on June 23rd. Now let's go ahead and briefly step through the trajectory for today's mission. Falcon 9 leaving the pad from Space Launch Complex 40 from Cape Canaveral with the spacecraft on board the batch of 22 Starlink satellites for a northeast trajectory heading into low Earth orbit, that is to the second generation 10th shell, indicated by that green line on your screen. The red line indicates where the Falcon 9 first stage will land after stage separation, just a little later leaving Florida's Space Coast. This is going to be a drone ship landing using autonomous spaceport drone ship. For today, it's A Shortfall of Gravitas drone ship, one of the two here on the East Coast, which means that the first stage booster with tail number 1078, flying for its 11th time, will be returning heading out to the drone ship for its landing. The planned booster recovery is 618 kilometers, with estimated fairing recovery approximately 700 kilometers downrange, and the stage 2 debris re-entry will be south of Australia. We expect the addition of a fourth drone ship, likely by the end of this year or early next year. Currently, there are 3 in SpaceX drone ship fleet. One of the 3 drone ships just read the instructions and A Shortfall of Gravitas are stationed here in Florida, while of course I Still Love You is stationed in California. The two halves of the payload fairing will be recovered slightly farther downrange from where the first stage lands on the drone ship. After they will smoothly splash down with the guidance of parachutes. SpaceX will utilize a recovery vessel to retrieve them from the Atlantic waters. SpaceX manufactures the fairing in-house with the total cost of total half is nearly $6 million. So it's of no wonder that SpaceX aims to recover the fairings for repetitive use, which mirrors their approach with rocket boosters, upholding the motto of reusability and sustainability. SpaceX has dedicated years of effort to the recovery and reuse of payload fairings. You can see on your screen how a fairing recovery looks like. Today's supporting recovery vessel is Doug. Other recovery vessel Bob currently awaiting its next assignment. SpaceX has named its 2 new recovery ships, Bob and Doug, after Bob Bacon and Doug Hurley, the 2 NASA astronauts and the first crew SpaceX launched for NASA under Commercial Crew Program on the Demo 2 mission to the International Space Station back in 2020. Also, this year, May 30th marked the 4th anniversary of Falcon 9 launching NASA's Demo 2 mission to the space station, returning human spaceflight to the United States. Since then, Dragon has carried 49 people into orbit. Now here is a short video of the fairing separation and MVAC ignition. You can see how the fairing half separate, exposing the payload on board the second stage to space and the MVAC ignition. This is a short video of the fairing half, that protective shell from rocket's payload, making its way back home, entering through Earth's atmosphere, creating a mesmerizing halo around it. Hope you liked and enjoyed both the short clips. Now let's take a look through the launch timeline for the Falcon 9 rocket passing these events following liftoff. At t plus 1 minute and 10 seconds, Falcon 9 will pass through max Q, a point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. Then there will be a couple of different events in rapid succession. First will be the first stage main engine cutoff, that is MECO, at t plus 2 minutes and 24 seconds, followed by a major milestone within 4 seconds at t plus 2 minutes and 28 seconds, where first and second stage will separate from each other. Just after 7 seconds later, second stage MVAC engine will ignite for the first time during the flight, that is SES-1 at t plus 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Coming up next at t plus 2 minutes and 54 seconds mark, Falcon 9's payload fairing will be jettisoned. And the process will be similar as I showed you that short clip. At t plus 6 minutes and 9 seconds, the first stage entry burn will begin, lasting for 24 seconds up to 6 minutes and 33 seconds mark, ending the entry burn for the first stage. At this time around, we will hear the callouts for stage 1 flight termination system being saved. Now just for a quick knowledge, the stage 1 FTS is saved. Also, you can say the flight termination systems are turned off or disabled after the re-entry burn, whereas the second stage FTS is saved after the orbital insertion burn. We will also hear the callouts for stage 1 being transonic and stage 2 being in terminal guidance. Next major milestone at t plus 7 minutes and 53 seconds, the first stage landing burn will commence, which will orient and set up the first stage for SpaceX iconic precision landing. At t plus 8 minutes and 18 seconds, the first stage will land on drone ship A Shortfall of Gravitas for 75th time overall, marking SpaceX 321st overall landing. The second stage MVAC engine will shut down, that is SECO-1, and enter into a parking orbit at t plus 8 minutes and 38 seconds. T plus 43 minutes and 50 seconds. The second stage MVAC engine will reignite for a quick 2-second burn, that is SES-2, and turning it off at t plus 43 minutes and 52 seconds, that is SECO-2, which will set up 22 Starlink satellites deployment at approximately t plus 52 minutes and 44 seconds. That's within 1 hour from liftoff. Now, if you are still vibing with us, how about giving this video a like? It helps YouTube's algorithm catch the drift and bring more space lovers like you and rocket buffs our way. And if you haven't subscribed us, now is the time. We would be totally amazed to have you on board. Your support means the world to us. Now before proceeding, give us again a few seconds just to check if the launch is proceeding as scheduled and to keep ourselves informed. Yes, it is on time. So let's move on and discuss some stats related to today's mission launch. The launch marks 358th SpaceX overall launch and the 45th dedicated launch of Starlink satellite for this year. This will be the 347th Falcon 9 launch to date. 11th flight of this particular Falcon 9 booster supporting today's mission with tail number 1078. It is the 63rd Falcon 9 launch of 2024 so far and is SpaceX 65th overall launch of this year, including the 3rd and 4th integrated flight test of Starship. Expecting the next, that is 5th integrated flight test, probably on the end of June or early July. This is SpaceX 292nd Falcon booster reflight to date. That is the launch of a booster that has flown at least once before. 193rd orbital launch for SpaceX, launching from Slick 40. And this will be the 248th overall orbital launch from this pad, that is Space Launch Complex 40. With this mission's success, SpaceX will have a remarkable 6,655 Starlink satellites launched to date. Now moving on to some reusability statistics. This launch marks 278 Falcon 9 booster reflight to date. This will be the 75th landing on A Shortfall of Gravitas drone ship to date. 11th landing of the first stage booster with tail number 1078. And with this mission's first stage landing, which paves the way to 252nd overall drone ship landing, marking 304th Falcon 9 landing so far, and 321st SpaceX overall landing to date. Let's have a look into some key stats for SpaceX launches in this year, including today's mission. So SpaceX has a total of 65 launches, and out of those 18 were non-Starlink missions and 2 Starship launches. SpaceX reused boosters for 61 times in those launches, showing their commitment to sustainability and reusability. Now if we look into the geographical distribution, we get they have 43 launches from East Coast with 12 from Launch Complex 39A, that is Kennedy Space Center, and 31 from Space Launch Complex 40, including today's one, that is from here at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. On the West Coast, we have 20 launches, all from Space Launch Complex 4 East, that is Vandenberg Space Force Base, and there is an upcoming launch from Vandenberg for the Starlink 9-2 mission. We will be streaming that event as well, so don't forget to tune in. And there was 2 launch from Gulf Coast of Starbase back in Texas for the Starship 3rd and 4th integrated flight test. As of landings, they have nailed it 62 times. Most of them were on drone ships, with 49 successful landings, 16 on Of Course I Still Love You, 13 on Just Read the Instructions, and 20 on A Shortfall of Gravitas, including one from today. And for ground landings, they have pulled off 13 times, 8 times on landing zone 1, only 1 time on landing zone 2, and 4 times on landing zone 4 respectively. I hope it's time to switch back to the webcast, as it's the time for the webcast to begin. While the webcast is taking some time to begin, just some stats again. United States is dominating now with 75 orbital launches, comprising a substantial 63% of the global total. Recently, other than SpaceX launches, we had Rocket Lab's 50th Electron launch for Kineas. Also, with the recent 50th Electron launch on No Time to Lose mission, Rocket Lab has reached its 50th launch faster than any other commercially developed rocket in history. It did broke the record previously held by Falcon 9. We can already hear the wind blowing there.
Tanks pressing for strong back retract.
As you heard that the call out with pressurizing of the tanks, where we add a little bit of gas to stiffen up the tank so that the clamp arms can open with a solid structure holding the Falcon 9. Upon opening the arms, we start reclining the strong back about 1.5 degrees away.
Retract has started.
We heard the call out. The process is now underway, and you can see the clamp arms around the stage 2 are now coming to open. Hopefully they will give a closer view. Yes, now they gave. You are seeing the clamp arms opening up here underneath the payload fairing, the transporter erector reclining 1.5 degrees away from the vehicle. Now we are less than 4 minutes away from liftoff. While watching the live view of Falcon 9, a couple of important steps we completed. The spacecraft team switched to internal power a few minutes ago, and fueling of the Falcon 9 first stage is finished, means all the RP-1 prop is now on board. We are still loading liquid oxygen on both the first and second stages. We are currently chilling in the Merlin engines back from T-7 minutes. Now the strong back retraction is a slow process. We have hydraulic actuators at the base of the strong back that will pull it away. We do it slowly because you might be able to see we still have lines that are carrying liquid oxygen to the second stage, as well as the electrical signals and the air conditioning up there in the payload fairing. We did got the call out for stage 1 LOX load being complete right on time. We are now waiting for the second stage that will finish up at just inside the T-2 minute mark. Currently the range continues to be green, and the weather, of course, as you can see there, has somehow cooperated. Again, if for some reason we do not launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow, that is Monday, June 24th, with launch window opening at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be listening in couple of seconds for locks.
Stage 2, locks load complete.
Load closeout on the second stage. And we did got the call out. Stage 2 locks load is complete. All propellants are now on board the Falcon 9 with 1 million pounds of propellant. We are now beginning to vent down the pressure that was in the tubing on the strong back. That's why you can see those clouds coming out there. Next call out we will be having is for the ground gas closeout.
Ground gas closeout.
Now we did got the call out for ground gas closeout. That's where we bleed the pressure off, and that cold gas, when it reacts with the moist humid air around, which gives you that nice white cloud, an indicator of launch upcoming. Next event, T-1 minute, we should hear the call out. Falcon 9 flight computers are in startup and controlling the rocket for the remainder of the countdown.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Right on time, Falcon 9 flight computers on stage 1 and stage 2 are running the rocket through the last minute of count. Now let's listen to the go callouts from the SpaceX launch director.
Go for launch.
SpaceX launch director giving go for the launch. We are coming up on T-30 seconds. All system continues to remain go for launch of Falcon 9 and Starlink.
T-30 seconds.
We are at T-30 seconds from liftoff.
Seconds.
T-15 seconds and counting.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Engines full power. And liftoff. Go Starlink, go Falcon.
And we have
downrange.
liftoff. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower.
Chamber pressures are nominal.
Stage 1 engine chamber pressure is nominal. We got that call out. T plus 30 seconds into the flight, Falcon 9 on its way with 22 Starlinks into low Earth orbit. Should get a call out for power and telemetry being nominal.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Right on time, good call outs there. Power and telemetry and propulsion is nominal. We are into the throttle bucket. We are throttling down the 9 Merlin engines as we prepare for the period of maximum dynamic stress coming up. We heard the call out for vehicle being supersonic. We have exceeded Mach 1 on the Falcon 9. Now Falcon 9 is faster than the speed of sound as we have gone supersonic. Max Q call out. We have gone through the period of maximum stress on the vehicle. We have throttled the Merlin engines back up to full power. Right now, we will be
Impact chill has started.
I was going to say that. We have started to chill down the MBAC engine on the second stage prior to its ignition, just after the stage separation. Coming up, 3 events in rapid succession: the shutdown of main engine on first stage, that is main engine cutoff MECO, followed by stage separation and ignition of the second stage MBAC engine, that is SES-1. That will boost the payload into low Earth orbit. Now let's hear the callouts. Meanwhile, replying to Pop Tripica, yes, today's view is spectacular, Pop Tripica. Even when it was ascending, the Falcon 9 was ascending, it was looking so amazing. Yes, confession.
Nico.
finally they didn't
Stage
postpone.
separation confirmed.
MECO and stage
Back ignition.
separation, also the MBAG ignition. All the three rapid succession events callouts we got. Now the stage nitrogen thrusters is now beginning to reorient the first stage, and the flight computers has commanded the four hypersonic
Fairing
titanium grid
separation
fins
confirmed.
to slowly begin deploying now that the stage separation is successful. We got call out that the fairing has successfully separated. You are looking right now a view of the first stage. Continues under the force of gravity and steering with the help of grid fins. It will continue to rise towards apogee before descending back down towards the landing on drone ship, that is on A Shortfall of Gravitas station in the Atlantic Ocean. Second stage, meanwhile, in the middle of its 6-minute burn, is on its way into the parking orbit with the payloads on board. We should be expecting a call out for vehicles. Both the vehicles are on a nominal trajectory, and also we will be expecting a call out later on as stage 1 FTS has been saved.
Both vehicles are on a nominal trajectory.
There we go. Call out for good performance and trajectory of both the first and second stages. Yes, Poptripika, recently you saw now that China's Long March 2C, there one of the booster fell in a populated area where residential area it was, and with a hydrogen gas venting that is very much toxic. At least with SpaceX these things are not happening. They took care of these things. Not about Starlink 10 missions. I didn't got to have that news about absorbing coating to reduce impact on the stargazing. But we'll surely look into that when you said it. But I didn't notice it. Maybe I overlooked. Up until now, the launch has been excellent and smooth. The first stage has completed its task and it's en route back. The second stage is operating at maximum capacity and we are getting spectacular views from space. Currently, we are preparing the first stage to make its return to the drone ship landing site. During this part of the flight, stage 1 relies solely on its grid fins for steering as it returns to Earth. These grid fins orient the Falcon 9 during re-entry and guide the rocket during its descent. Right now, we are viewing the second stage.
Both vehicles continue to follow a nominal trajectory.
But occasionally on the left side of your screen, you may notice nitrogen gas bursts from the first stage for altitude control. Basically used to position the vehicle as it heads back towards the drone ship.
Stage 1 entry burn startup. Stage 1 FTS has safed.
We got both callouts back to back. Stage 1 entry burn startup. We have just lit 3 of Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. You can see now we are rapidly slowing down the vehicle as it enters the Earth's atmosphere, and this burn should last just around 24 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And there we go. That's confirmation of shutdown of the entry burn on the first stage. Falcon 9 first stage is equipped with 4 landing legs, and those are made out of carbon fiber with aluminum honeycomb placed symmetrically around the base of the rocket, which will be deploying just prior to the landing. Next expected call out is stage 2 FTS being set upon orbital insertion burn. Also, we will be expecting a call out for stage 1 being transonic. We did lost, no, it came back. We did.
Stage 1 transonic.
You just heard the call out. Stage 1 is now traveling slower than the speed of sound as it heads towards landing. Speaking of landing, we are just about 60 seconds away from that, and maybe we will soon get a view of the drone ship as well. Next expected call out is stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance. Stage 1 landing burn.
There we go. Great views of that landing burn with that center E9 now lit. We are slowing down the vehicle very rapidly. Should be seeing those landing legs deploy any seconds now.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Landing legs being deployed.
Stage 2 FTS has safed.
And there we have it. We have successfully made the 321st landing of an orbital class
Stage
rocket.
1 landing confirmed.
We did call out for stage 1
Impact shutdown.
FTS being saved. Next we got the call out for the SECO, that is second stage engine cutoff. Following that event, we will enter into 35 minutes of coast phase as the vehicle ascends to its target orbit.
Nominal park orbit insertion.
And there are the call outs we were waiting for. Second stage engine cutoff, as well as the confirmation of nominal good orbit. Today's landing marks 321st overall landing of SpaceX. And with that, we will wrap up our coverage for now. Be sure to check out the social media for confirmation of Starlink deployment. We want to thank all of you joining us with today's launch, and we hope you all enjoy the weekend. Also, we hope that you enjoyed the stream and we could meet your expectations. Also, to our Pop Tripika, thanks for joining us again and staying till the very end. Thanks to Confession at 3 a.m. also being there, joining us. Ed Austell and also Dan. Thanks all of you for being there with us, supporting us and bearing our mistakes as well. Hope you enjoyed the stream, and once again thanks for joining us, showing your such patience, love and understanding, staying till the end. And referring to Pop Tripika, till now no news such surfaced on social media that anyone got hurt by that event from Long March 2 C's boosters falling with a leaking hydrazine gas. So even I hope that no one should be getting hurt by that. So anyways, thanks for watching. This is AstroYonder Live and me, Dipta, signing off for now, and we will see you next time.